40 years of wandering, one river to cross, one prophet's final cry. This is Deuteronomy. They've roamed for decades, through blistering deserts, through crippling doubts, through miracles that defied the heavens. Now they stand at the edge of a promise, but Moses, their guide, won't cross the Jordan. His final words will ignite their souls. Moses doesn't hand them a sword or battle plans. He gives them something fiercer, a choice, a covenant, a glimpse of a cosmic fight that will shape their and our future and the fate of the world. It's a vision of who they are, God's chosen, set apart to shine in a shadowed world, a people destined to carry His light where darkness reigns. Let's dive into Deuteronomy. The story of Deuteronomy begins with memory. Not rules, not rituals, but the raw, unrelenting memory of the wilderness. Picture Moses, staff raised like a banner, facing a nation on the brink. "We set out from Horeb," he said, "through a great and terrible wilderness, sand that scorched the soul, serpents that struck without mercy, thirst that clawed at their hearts. They were slaves once, chained in Egypt's shadow. But God broke their bonds with plagues and power. Now free but frail, they faced a desert that tested their very will to believe. Every step was a battle, not just against heat and hunger, but against the whispers of despair that threatened to unravel their faith. It was meant to be a short march, weeks perhaps, from God's mountain to the promised land, but fear twisted time. When they reached Canaan's edge, Moses sent spies to scout the land. They returned with grapes so heavy, 2 men could barely carry them. But their words dripped with dread. "Giants dwell there," they whispered. "Fortresses scrape the sky." The spies' fear was a poison, spreading whispers of defeat until the people's hearts withered. The people listened, they doubted, they rebelled, and judgment fell like sand through their fingers. "Your unbelief," Moses declares, "left their bodies scattered in the desert." Fathers buried by their sons under starless skies. Mothers mourned by daughters in their dust. A generation lost to fear. Now here is where it gets wild, since we talked about the Nephilim in Genesis. Deuteronomy 32 unveils a truth most miss. Moses' speech isn't just talking about earthly battles. He's revealing a cosmic war. In his final song, Moses sings of a God who divided the nations. After the chaos of Babel, he set them under the sons of God. Divine beings, spiritual powers, tasked with guiding the world. These were God's appointed stewards, created to reflect His glory, to govern with justice. But these powers rebelled. They became fallen gods, corrupt rulers over the pagan nations. Israel's land? It's the Lord's own inheritance, His sacred portion, every hill, every stream, chosen by the Creator to be the stage for His redemption. A land where heaven and earth would collide, where God's glory would shine through His people. When Israel crosses the Jordan, they're not just fighting kings and armies. They're clashing with principalities, dark forces guarding Canaan's shadows. The wars in Numbers, the battles in Joshua. They're not random, they're spiritual warfare, visible on the earth, waged in the heavens. Moses sees it all. He knows the stakes. Deuteronomy isn't just a guide for conquest. It's a battle cry, a declaration that God Himself will fight for His people against mortal kings and rebel powers alike. This moment isn't about land. It's about reclaiming the earth for the one true King. Wow. The first part of Deuteronomy is pretty heavy, and Moses is dropping truth bombs that hit harder than ever. This story is about to explode. It's a wake-up call to live with purpose, to fight for what matters. If you're fired up, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell. Drop a comment. What's inspiring you so far? Let's keep this chase alive. The wilderness wasn't just a graveyard. It was a forge, hammering a ragtag people into a nation. Moses recounts their victories. Sihon, king of the Amorites, his warriors clad in bronze, matched with pride. Yet God's hand turned their strength to dust. Og, the giant king of Bashan, whose fortified cities crumbled under the march of a people with no siege engines. Only faith burning in their hearts. 60 cities, walled to the heavens, fell not to swords, but to the shouts of people, trusting their God. No chariots, no war machines, just prayer, obedience, and a God who fought for them. Moses calls out the tribes, Reuben, Gad, Manasseh, in the lands they've claimed east of the Jordan. He names the campsites, each one a monument to miracles. Manna fell like mercy every dawn. Water gushed from a rock to silence their desperate thirst. A bronze serpent raised high in the sun healed the dying with a single glance. Your shoes never wore out, Moses says. Your clothes never faded. The Lord carried you like a father cradling his child through a storm. For 40 years, he was their shield, their provider, their unbreakable hope in a wasteland that broke lesser souls. Every miracle was a sign, a reminder that God's presence was closer than their breath, stronger than their fears. But then his voice trembles, his eyes grow heavy. The Lord was angry with me because of your rebellion. He swore, you shall not enter the land. Picture Moses, who parted the seas, who stood in God's presence, now barred from the land he dreamed of. His heart breaks, yet he speaks on, faithful to the end. His sacrifice burns brighter than any victory, a testament to a leader who gave everything for his people. Even Moses, the great deliverer, the man who spoke with God face to face, bears the scars of their sin. Even the prophet must kneel before a holy God. This is Deuteronomy's first lesson. God is faithful. His promises never fail, but he is just. No one, not even Moses, can approach him lightly. Yet the promise endures. A land waits across the river. A future is ready to be claimed. The question is, will they seize it or let their fear win again? With the wilderness behind them, Moses turns their eyes forward. It's not just about where they've been. It's about who they're called to be. Hear, O Israel, he cries. The Lord our God, the Lord is one. This isn't a catchphrase, it's a war cry, a vow that sets Israel apart in a world drowned in idols, in lands where gods of stone and gold demand blood and fear. Israel's God demands loyalty and love. You shall love the Lord your God, he says, with all of your heart, all of your soul, all of your strength. This love isn't soft or fleeting, it's fierce, a loyalty that defines their very soul. Moses recites the 10 Commandments, each word a spark from Sinai's fire. You saw the flames, he said. You heard God's voice roar from the cloud. You trembled at his presence. That moment at Sinai wasn't just a law given. It was a nation born, bound to a God who spoke their destiny. It was a covenant that reshaped their identity, calling them to be holy as their God is holy. Now that fire must burn inside them. The law must live, etched in their hearts, bound to their hands, written on the doorposts of their homes. Teach it to your children, Moses urges. When you rise at dawn, when you rest under the stars, when you walk the dusty roads, when you gather by the fire, let every meal, every song, every step they take echo the covenant that makes them whole. Let their lives be a living testimony to a God who transforms a nation. The covenant isn't a rule book. It's their lifeblood, their compass, their shield. But Moses sees danger ahead. They'll enter a land of plenty, cities they didn't build, vineyards they didn't plant, wells they didn't dig. Prosperity can dull the spirit. Comfort can erase memory. Do not forget the Lord your God, he warns. Do not grow arrogant. Do not think your hands won this land. For every harvest, every home, every victory is a gift from God who led them here. Forget him and their hearts will drift to idols that promise much, but deliver only chains. And the idols they'll find, tear them down, shatter their altars, leave no trace of the lies that seduce the heart. For the Lord is a consuming fire, he thunders, a jealous God, not out of weakness, but because he knows what you worship will shape what you become. This is more than a law. It's a map for their souls, a beacon in a land of shadows. We're at the climax. Moses is about to lay down a choice that changes everything. Don't move. The hour has come. Moses sets before them a choice. See, he says, I place before you today life and good, death and evil. Not fate, not chance, a decision that will carve their destiny. Obey, and the land will bloom like Eden. Crops will thrive under golden suns. Children will multiply like stars. Enemies will scatter like chaff in the wind. Blessings will flow in their fields, in their homes, in their very hearts. Peace will guard their cities, and their name will shine as a light to the nations. Their faithfulness will draw the world to a God who redeems. But rebel, and the consequences will be merciless. Your crops will wither, Moses warns. Plagues will stalk your cities. You'll be torn from the land, scattered among nations, a broken people, a name mocked. He paints the curses in stark colors. Starvation that drives men mad, exile that tears families apart, madness that clouds the mind, a covenant shattered like glass. Their enemies will feast on their ruined dreams, and their cries will echo unanswered. And yet, even in wrath, grace lingers. If you return to the Lord, even from the furthest exile, He will hear you. He will gather you back. He will restore your fortunes. He will renew your hearts to love Him again. This is the God who never forsakes, whose mercy outlives their failures, whose love rebuilds what rebellion destroys. His heart yearns for their return, a father waiting for his wayward children. Moses sees beyond the conquest. He sees the triumphs, the failures, the exile, the pain, and the mercy that will follow. He commands them to gather at two mountains, Gerizim, where blessings will echo, and Ebal, where curses will resound. There they'll shout the covenant, a vow binding them to God, to history, to eternity. Every voice, from elder to child, will declare their place in God's unshakable plan. Then Moses turns to Joshua. Be strong, he says. Be courageous. Lead them true. He lays his hand on the young leader, passing the torch of a nation. Joshua, his assistant and once a spy, now a shepherd, carry Moses' vision into the unknown. His courage will bridge the past to a future God has promised. Finally, Moses climbs Mount Nebo. From a lonely peak, he gazes across the Jordan. Jericho's walls, Canaan's golden fields, the inheritance of a people once bound in chains. But he does not cross. There, alone with God, the Lord lays his prophet to rest. His life, a sacrifice, becomes a beacon for all who dare to follow. No one knows where his grave is. His words, his song, are his eternal legacy. Moses gave them no armies, no weapons, just obedience, a compass for the soul. Deuteronomy isn't just a dusty old story, it's a mirror. What choices are you facing today? What legacy will you leave behind? Are you building something eternal or chasing shadows that fade? Are you living a purpose bigger than yourself or settling for less than you were made for? This story shook me to my core. I hope it's lit a fire in you too. If this hit you deeper than expected, there's more. Check the full playlist to follow the story, from Genesis to Revelation, book by book, breath by breath. Subscribe if you haven't, and share it with someone who needs to hear this story. This is a very long road, and we're just getting started.